when we were kids, you always had that kind of geek person in the movies that has several screens.
Yeah.
And it's usually a hacker or something like that. But I always wanted to be that person, and because I thought that I was good at programming from school and from seeing my friends programming and so on. I thought that I was pretty good at it. And then at my first internship, like I remember my mentor at the time, he just gave me a very basic, simple task, and I think I spent like around 10 days working on it, and I couldn't do it.
And also, I think it tests your passion because it's hard, like to deal with this stuff, like to feel stupid about something, and this is like what make you like get into web development and go with it for a long time.
A job that everyone wants to do, but every time I speak with people, like I tell them like, yeah, it's true, but at the same time, you have to like it, because if you don't like it, it's one of the most depressing and the most difficult jobs that you can do.
The BeJS, which is the JavaScript community for in Brussels,
Yeah.
which is the biggest one for JavaScript. So when you are going to a conference where a lot of like-minded people are there, so we'll feel a lot of that you are not alone in this world. There's a lot of people that are doing the same stuff that you are doing, and also they are loving what they are doing. So I think this is one of the things that is good about going to in person.
Every time I go back from a conference, I feel like super energized and super motivated, because like I have so many ideas and so many new things I want to test and try, and so it's totally worth it.
Would like just to go home and build something like build a library or build a product.
Conferences, so I think we did 3 React Brussels, 2 React Paris, 2 BGS Confs, and also
One.
last year we did React Africa for the
Yeah.
first time.
And one thing that I would like to ask you is the Moroccan food better than the Tunisian food? But what happened behind the scene? Like I think because it's like a month like before doing the conference, month of preparation, month of going confirming with the speaker, confirming with the venue. I can imagine the stress that would be like behind running on a tech conference.
Most annoying part for me is the sales. Start working on a conference around between 9 and 12 months before the conference happens. At first we'll be just 4 or 5 people, and we'll be coding, so we don't need much. And then like not even a year later, organizing a conference where we had more than 200 people attending online. For me that was a huge milestone.
It's like you are becoming a hero in someone else's story.
Yeah.
But when you will change and become like someone who is not shy, you will see what you missed, because
Yeah.
you will see a lot of things that was blocked because of the personality that you have. Hi, welcome guys to Let's Code Podcast, a podcast where we interview software engineer to share their entrepreneurial story. And here we are on episode number 10, and we have Ayman Ben Amor. He's a software developer. He studied computer science and he got his bachelor degree in computer management at the University of Tunis. He is the founder of BeJS, a conference for JavaScript developer, and the conference behind React Paris, React Africa, and React Brussels. And we will catch up more about Ayman's story after this intro. So thank you, Ayman, for accepting my invitation. It will be a pleasure hosting you for today's episode. So can you give the audience an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. So my name is Ayman. I'm a front-end developer. I'm half Tunisian, half Russian. But I've been living in Brussels for maybe 12, 13 years now. I also founded the community BeJS, which is a JavaScript community that is based in Belgium. We organize events around JavaScript, hackathons, conferences, meetups, and coding competition, and this kind of stuff. And few conferences that we organized are React Paris, React Brussels, and React Africa. What else? I have my own consulting company, so basically I create web and mobile apps for different customers. And yeah, that's globally it.
Awesome. So thank you for introduction. And the first question that I usually ask to my guests is how was the first interaction with computers, especially as someone being a web developer?
Yeah, so for me, the thing is like I've always dreamed about being a kind of IT person. So I don't know if you remember, but when we were kids, you always had that kind of geek person in the movies that has several screens.
Yeah.
And it's usually a hacker or something like that. But I always wanted to be that person. And so since I was a kid, I wanted to do something related to computers, and I also loved computers, gaming, and so on. And so I think around the age of 11 or 12, that's where when I was first introduced to coding. It was at school, so basically we just tried coding as part of the computer club of the school where I was studying. And I loved it. And since then, I started coding from time to time, mostly JavaScript and HTML at the time. And then when I got my baccalaureate, this is like a huge exam in Tunisia where after you pass it, you decide where to go for university. I decided to go to computer sciences, apply to management, because I thought that computer sciences are great, but you kind of need still the business and economy and finances and accounting knowledge to be a good entrepreneur later on. And so that's why I did those studies. So that's how I started.
Interesting. That's great. Yeah, I think the stuff that you mentioned earlier about like the movie stuff. I think a lot of people can relate on because you will see like the Matrix or like Mr. Robot. I think wasn't Mr. Robot back then, but like a similar movie. You will like see someone who just typing some stuff in the computer and making some stuff, and you will be curious about doing it yourself also to be able to get the same exact like a screen and stuff, because it was like the curiosity and the stuff was really interesting back then. And the second thing that you got like your bachelor degree in computer science at the University of Tunis, and after that you start working full time. How was the first experience working full time as someone working as a web developer?
Yeah, so the thing is like I started working before even finishing my studies. So my first experience, it was actually an internship that I did, and that was really how can I say it, like not horrible but very tough for me and very difficult, because I thought that I was good at programming from school and from seeing my friends programming and so on. I thought that I was pretty good at it. And then at my first internship, like I remember my mentor at the time, he just gave me a very basic simple task, and I think I spent like around 10 days working on it, and I couldn't do it. It was basically just adding a watermark to some photos, like. And so I was like going home almost every day, almost crying, like feeling stupid, because like that's how we spend our life as developers. You feel stupid all the time because you can't do something, and then you have to learn it, and then the next day you learn something new and you feel stupid again.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, like the first week it was very difficult, and but then I got used to it, and it actually became part of the fun and the game of it. Like you start every day feeling stupid. At the end of the day, you kind of feel not that stupid as you used to be, and so you kind of evolve every day, and you basically fix kind of puzzles and enigmas all day long, which is very interesting, I think. And it's never boring because you kind of learn stuff every day, and it's super interesting. So yeah, that was my first experience.
Interesting, yeah. The stuff that you mentioned about coding and feeling stupid, because like I think even like someone who is like got experience in like a web development, sometimes you will feel stupid because there is like something that is like a simple or a bug that is simple, and you feel that you're stupid because you can't focus. I feel coding or like a developing software is like a game. it's like a sometimes it's like a up, sometimes it will be down. So it's like a either you are like a fixing bugs or like a dealing with bugs. I think this is like the fun part about being as a developer, and also I think it tests your passion because it's hard like to deal with this stuff, like to feel stupid about something, and this is like a what make you like get into web development and go with it for a long time because it will test your passion about doing this stuff. If it's not for you, you will end up like leaving early because it's pretty hard to feel stupid a lot of time, and even like an experienced developer still have like this feeling of because it's like the momentum. So you are building the momentum to be able to get stuff done as a developer.
Yeah, I totally agree with this. And like you mentioned something that is really important. You have to like it to be able to do our work because our work, I mean, like, it's true that working in IT and being a web developer has been an amazing work in the past maybe 10-15 years because you get paid a lot, there is a lot of opportunities, you can evolve quite fast and so on. You don't need a degree in most of the companies. The companies don't care about your degrees for web developers at least. And so it's true that it became kind of a job that everyone wants to do, but every time I speak with people, like I tell them like, yeah, it's true, but at the same time you have to like it, because if you don't like it, it's one of the most depressing and the most difficult jobs that you can do if you don't like coding at the base and you're just doing it for the money, which is fine, but just be careful because at some point it can become very difficult.
Yeah, that's true. Because like I think if you are doing it for the money, you will see a roadblock at some time because I think at some point you will have some issue or some bug that is like driving you crazy for like a couple of days or a week to be able to just get the solution for it. And this is like where the passion will be coming from. If you are liking what you are doing, I think you will be seeking for it for a long time. And also the thing about programming is like a rewarding. So if you fix the bug, you will feel like very happy about yourself because you fixed this bug that was annoying you for like quite some time. So it's like because like this like I mentioned it's a game because you will get reward at the end of fixing the bug. You will see that this code is working, it's solving a problem, and this is where like a rewarding that the effort that you put in when you start doing the project.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And what was the first programming language that you deal with at your early career?
Yeah, so when I started, I was doing PHP with a framework called Symfony. I don't know if you know, but it's a pretty well-known one.
Yeah.
And I was also doing the front end using JavaScript and jQuery. So yeah, that's how I started. I think I worked as a kind of full stack for about 4 to 5 years, and then I decided to focus more on the JavaScript part and the front end part. I switched, so yeah, since then I used Backbone, Web Components, React, Angular, all of them. I don't think I used Vue though.
That's great. That's great because like a lot of because when I started doing learning how to code, I think it's the early of 2019 or like something like this, and I start with the JavaScript using like a Backbone JS. So it wasn't a lot of not a lot of tutorial about React. So it's about like mostly about query, which is was like a bit not hard, but it was a bit limited to what we can do. But I think learning JavaScript and after that learning jQuery gave me like a good foundation of JavaScript. So it was easy for me to transfer learning to React and other stuff. I never learned and used Angular, so I use Vue.js, but I never used Angular because for me it was like a bit complex syntax. It wasn't like the prettiest one to be able to like get me into the Angular JS world, but yeah.
Yeah, for like So I used AngularJS like before using React, but since I started using React, that's my like weapon of choice because I'm very productive with it, and that's why I like that. I know how to do things. I don't even have to think to do something. I just do it because I'm just so used to using it. Even though like the past 2 or 3 years with React Server components, like there are a lot of changes and so on, but I think we're like going in the right direction. Even though not everyone is able to use React Server components and not any app needs them, it's still kind of nice to see where the React ecosystem is going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Awesome. So I think we cover a bit of the backstory of how you are becoming a web developer, and also I would love to get more about the BeJS, which is the JavaScript community for in Brussels,
Yeah.
which is the biggest one for JavaScript. And I would love to know what is the backstory or the idea of the BeJS came from.
Yeah, so basically, like when I came to Brussels a 12 years ago, I wasn't really into conferences. So I've never been to a conference, mainly because we don't have those in Tunisia. I mean, we have smaller ones, but it's not the same. And so a friend of mine at the time told me, "Hey, let's go. There is a conference in Amsterdam. Let's go." At first, I didn't want to go, but then he convinced me to join him for the conference. I loved it. Like it was more like a festival or a concert than a conference, and I loved every part of it. I loved the social part, the talks, the interactions, the networking opportunities, and so on. And so when we went back to Brussels, I wanted to go to similar events, but then I was looking online for similar events and I couldn't find any meetups or conferences that are focused on JavaScript in Brussels and Belgium. And so I procrastinated on the idea for maybe 2 or 3 years, but then I ended up creating BeJS and starting organizing events in Brussels.
Interesting. I think that this is like the good thing about going to developer conference because as a developer we say a lot in like just with our computer at home, especially if you are working remotely. So I think we are just living in our own bubble, but we don't like doesn't have a lot of like an in-person interaction. So when you are going to a conference where a lot of like-minded people are there, so we'll feel a lot of that you are not alone in this world. There's a lot of people that are doing the same stuff that you are doing, and also they are loving what they are doing. So I think this is one of the things that is good about going to in person, because online is good, but in person is incomparable, because you will not see the same person in person over online, because you will have like a chemistry and like a proximity to the person, because it's in person and we are human.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I love in-person events because the atmosphere that you get and the way you interact with people is way better than just online. You know, like you can even see it in at your own work. You know, like it's not. I'm not as friends as with my colleagues as I used to be with my colleagues when I used to see them every day. Before I started working from home, my friends were my colleagues because we spent so much time together. But now, like, sometimes I barely talk with them apart from the actual meetings that we have about work. And so in-person interactions are amazing for the networking part and so on. But also people are way more easy to access, let's say, in-person conferences than if you see them online or something, because they are just there, so you can just go and say hi, and then you're talking to one of your best to React contributors or one of your best instructors or speakers or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is like why I recommend a lot of people, especially someone who just getting started, to go outside of their comfort zone and go to conference, and even like it doesn't have to be conference, even like a local meetup, so you can see a
Mm.
lot of people in the same city or in the same country as you, like are working. And also, I think as you mentioned, it will be good for networking because having a conversation in person is not the same as online, because online the barrier to entry to the person is low, so a lot of people will reach out to the person. But in person, you will like a limited person that can reach them in person. So I think it will be a great idea to just say hi or introduce yourself to the person. You will be, you will. It's like a remarkable because you will meet someone in person is not the same as meeting someone online. You will like remember at least what they are wearing or something like a this like a special about the person. It's like a different than online.
Yeah, and also like you create when you meet people in person, you create real connections. You know, like you meet people at a conference, and then you go for a drink together, or you go party together, or you go discover the city together. And I have a lot of friends, people that I call friends. And I actually just met them at a conference or at a meetup, and you can also learn a lot from in-person events because you're kind of like in a very motivating and atmosphere, let's say. So you see a lot of people creating, a lot of people are passionate about what they are doing and what they are experiencing in their work and so on. And so this helps you kind of like get motivated and say like, oh look, like this company created, for example, a library to solve that problem. We have a similar problem in our company. Maybe we can use their library and make it even better, or maybe we can create our own library. And so it kind of like every time I go back from a conference, I feel like super energized and super motivated because like I have so many ideas and so many new things I want to test and try, and so it's totally worth it.
Yeah, that's true. Because you will have like a fresh energy and also fresh idea. So you just would like just to go home and build something like build a library or build a product, because you will see a lot of people building the same stuff and you think like I can do it also myself. So it's like a great to like it's like a boost of motivation. It's like you will have like another dose of caffeine.
Yeah.
That's great. And talking about BGS, like the name of BGS, I think it's like the short form for like a Belgium JavaScript.
Yeah,
Correct me
so
if
it's
I'm
a
wrong.
Belgian JavaScript community. So but it also stands for JavaScript. So
Okay. B
it's kind
JavaScript.
of like yeah,
Interesting.
just
That's
a
good. It's like a
play on the words.
two naming. Yeah. That's great. And when it was like the first edition of the BGS conference, like at which year we are talking?
Yeah. So at first we started organizing just meetups. So it was local meetups in Brussels. Here we were. I think for the first meetups we were maybe 50 people. So we did 3 meetups and then COVID hit, and so we started doing our meetups online. I actually took that as an opportunity. So like, because everything is happening online, so I started contacting popular speakers like Swigs, like Brendan Bayer, like Tejas Kumar, and so on. And I just asked them like, hey, we have a meetup, would you like to join? It just happened that most of them accepted, and so we started having quite nice speakers at our meetups. And then at some point I said like, okay, now we're doing meetups and so on online, why not try to do a conference? And then the fact that it was COVID and so the conference had to be online, I saw that as an opportunity because, you know, like if you're going to organize a conference in person, you need to fly people from everywhere, it's a lot of money, you need to rent the venue, catering, and so on. While here, it's just like people record their talk and then we connect together and just discuss their talk. And so I saw it as an opportunity, and I said, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And we did our first conference. It was in 2021. It was React Brussels, so a React focused conference, and I think we were around 250, 300 attendees online, and it was a great success. Everybody loved it. Everybody loved the atmosphere, so on. And that's what motivated me to later organize our first in-person conference, which was BeJS Conf, and that one was JavaScript focused, and that one happened in 2022, so right after COVID. And since then, I think we organized, I think 10 conferences since then. Yeah. I mean, like, it's awesome to organize conferences. Like, it's very rewarding, but it's also a crazy amount of work, especially that, as I said, like, I have my own company, so I already work for 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And on top of that, I have to manage everything related to the conferences and so on. So it's like crazy amount of work.
Interesting. That's great. I think, yeah, you mentioned, I think it was like great timing for the BGS, because you will have like when the COVID hit, you will have the online event, so it will build up the community for BGS.
Yeah.
So when you will be doing the in-person, you already have a speaker that's already attend the online event and already have like community of attendees. So already have like I would say, proof of concept for the conference, instead of spending a lot of money in person, because as you mentioned, it will be taking a lot of time, a lot of money to be able to run the venue that will host the event, and also like a sponsoring the speaker to be able to attend the event, like with hotels and the flight, and it's a lot of things to be able to be aware of. And you mentioned that the first edition in person was in 2022.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And after that, a lot of events happened there, and currently, from the website is currently React Brussels, React Paris, and the recent one was React Africa, which happened last year in Casablanca.
Yeah. So we have these three that are React focused, and we also have BeJS Conf, which is our JavaScript focused conference. Last year we didn't do it because it was too close to React Paris, and so we decided to skip it. But the idea is that we will probably at some point start doing it again as well. But we did several editions of these conferences. So I think we did 3 React Brussels, 2 React Paris, 2 BeJS Confs, and also last year we did React Africa for the first time. That was awesome.
Awesome. And how was the experience doing the React Africa? Because I think this is like the first version that is outside of Europe, because you have Paris and Brussels. How was the experience doing a conference in Morocco, and how was the community? I couldn't make it like last year, but I would love to get your feedback.
Yeah, so the best thing for me that I loved about React Africa is the community. The people I met there, be it from local speakers, attendees, even people that just wanted to help with the conference. And so, like, the community in Morocco is very passionate. A lot of people love front-end development and JavaScript in general, and they are willing to help and contribute and speak and share their knowledge and so on. So that part I loved a lot. I think what we struggled with in terms of organization was sales, because there is a big difference in how you sell tickets between Morocco and how we do it in Europe for the other conferences. And the main thing is, like, in Europe, it's the companies that pay tickets to their employees to go to conferences. And so when you're trying to market to people, even though the price for a person might be expensive. For a company, it's not that expensive because it's part of the, let's say, learning budget of
Yes.
companies for their employees. But something that we noticed in Morocco, and I think it's the same in Tunisia, other Middle Eastern and African countries, is that even when trying to go to attendees and ask them, hey, maybe next time we can help convince your boss or your manager to buy tickets for you or something, they were like, no, I don't want to disturb my manager or my company with this. So it's kind of like part of their own budget, where they have to buy the ticket on their own budget to attend the conference. And that was difficult for us because, like when we organize a conference, we cover for all speakers to fly to and also accommodation for them. There is catering, food, renting, and so on involved. There is marketing budget and so on. So our prices cannot be very cheap. And so that also impacted our sales last year, because tickets were quite expensive, especially if you buy them from your own pocket.
Makes sense. Got the point. Yeah, that's true. I think I never work at like a Moroccan company. I can know the reason, but maybe there is like a bureaucracy or like a
I think in Tunisia, it's a similar thing. It's just not in our habits to go ask our manager, hey, I want to go to a conference, pay me a ticket. I don't know, but it's just a different way of seeing things. And then also probably a lot of people can ask their managers, but then they just don't want to go through the trouble of making it approved by 10 people and this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I also think that the culture of sending people to conference is not well developed. That's why it's a lot of people are afraid of making that decision, because they will putting themselves in the shot to be able to get approval to go or to the conference. And maybe also when they are going to conference, they are using their vacation days instead of asking the manager for a paid day, because it's they are going on their own, so it's a bit hard for them. I can relate, but yeah, this is what is happening. And one thing that I would like to ask you, is the Moroccan food better than the Tunisian food?
Nah, man. I think Moroccan food is very tasty. But we had this kind of not fight, but it was a kind of a fun fight. On Twitter, where I was saying that Tunisian couscous is the best, and people didn't like it, so we started making fun of each other. But that's just the story between Tunisians and Moroccans. We always fight about which is the best couscous and so on. It was fun.
I'm not saying I'm just joking here, just because I think everyone has their own taste, and everyone will have their own preference for food, and there doesn't have to be a debate about, because it's your preference. It's not you are not representing Tunisian. That's really good. The other question that I would like to ask you about, it's the behind the scene of running a tech conference. You mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned that you need to sponsor the speaker flight and accommodation. You need to figure out where the venue will be. Mm-hmm. Also, we need to figure out the catering and other stuff that is go behind the scene, and people are just showing up and go to the conference, attend the talks, and a network, and go back to their home. But what's happened behind the scene? I think because it's a month before doing the conference, months of preparation, month of confirming with the speaker, confirming with the venue. I can imagine the stress that would be behind running on a tech conference.
Yeah, I mean, the main stress of at least for me for conferences is the sales part, because basically as person or a company or whatever, when you organize a conference, you just take a bet and say, okay, this year we're gonna have 200 people. 200 people from where? You'll see. You don't know. So you can, I mean, like, usually you check your last year's edition and so on, but there are so many factors that it's just a bet. You cannot say, you can have 1,000 people this year and next year it might be a crisis in the tech sector like we have now, or it might be another conference at the same time, or it might be the speaker lineup, and you get 200 instead of 1,000. And so it's very difficult to predict how many people you're going to have, but that's the first step you have to do, because according to the amount of people that you're going to have, you can evaluate your budget, you can decide on conference room, because you cannot put 1,000 people in a 200 person conference room. And so that's the second part, is finding a venue, which is usually very difficult. It's one of the most annoying parts for me, because there is always something that's not right. And the problem with our conferences is that you need a room for the conference itself, and then you need another room that is similar and that can get the same amount of people for the sponsors and for the networking part. And so it's basically like two rooms. And most of the issues that we have is that usually in most of the venues they are not these rooms are not synced, and so like sometimes you get conference room that is nice, sometimes you get the other part that is nice, but it's difficult to find something that is really perfect. And then you have to think about lots of other cases: the location, is it accessible or no, the hotels next to the venue, because you don't want your speakers to be 1 or 2 hours away from the venue. So there is a lot of things that you have to think about when trying to find a venue. So that's usually our second step. While doing that, you can also start contacting speakers, where you can... So the way, like for speakers, it depends on the conference. Some conferences do it differently. For us, for example, what we do is that we select between 3 and 5 speakers that are usually very popular and so on, that we invite, and then all the rest goes through the CFP. Some other conferences, they do everything through CFP, or everyone is invited only. And for us, it's important to keep the CFP because we want, and that's actually one of our rules for the CFP. Every time we do a CFP, we need at least one local person that needs to be selected, and also one person that speaks in an international conference for the first time. These are 2 rules that are very important to us. And then we basically like vote. We also have anonymized CFP, so basically like when voting, like you just vote on talk title and talk description. You don't know who's the person behind it, and this is like to get the chance to have a more diverse speaker lineup, which I think is why our speakers are always so diverse. Like they come from all over the world. And so yeah, speakers usually, like especially for the well-known speakers, like you need to send sometimes lots of messages and lots of emails, and sometimes go through your contacts. Like you contact an old speaker who spoke at your conference 1 or 2 years before, and you ask them if they know a certain speaker, and then that's how you get in contact with them. So yeah, that's also a part that is very difficult, because you need a lot of going back and forth to find the right speaker lineup. And then yeah, the most annoying part for me is the sales. and marketing.
Yeah.
That's where you basically need to start promoting your conference, promoting your content, running ads on different platforms, contacting people, contacting sponsors, and so on. And it takes a crazy amount of time to do all of this, create the content, posting on different social media, contacting people, talking to people, trying to understand why they are not buying tickets if they are not buying tickets, and so on, and trying to find solutions. So yeah, it's a lot of work and takes. I think we usually try to start working on a conference around between 9 and 12 months before the conference happens. But like not every day.
Yeah.
Just
for now.
little by little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. That's really hard. Yeah, I think I can imagine, especially like contacting like a speaker, and also because the conference you will have like a similar to a chicken and egg problem. You will need a good lineup of speaker to be able to get the person to attend the conference, and you need the people that attending the conference to be able to convince the speaker to attend to go to your event, and it's like a lot of things that will happen in between, so it's a lot of problem. So yeah, it's a lot of work behind the scene, and especially with the venue, because you might have picked the venue, but the venue also have a similar event in the same time that you are looking for. So you need to negotiate also deal with them. You need to confirm with the venue first. Also, you need to confirm with the speaker each one, and you need to contact them over Twitter, LinkedIn, also through a contact. It's like a lot of follow-up emails and messages to be able to go to confirm. And there's a lot of work running a tech conference, and it's 12 months to be able to just get there. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's really great. I think we cover the great ground for the first part of the episode, which is behind the scene of running a tech conference. Can we get some numbers that you would like to share with us about the conference? Maybe number of attendees, even each number that you can share with us.
Yeah, so in terms of number of attendees, I think for React Paris we're usually at 300, a little bit less than 300 people. I think this year we almost were, I think we were at 300 or almost 300 people. For React Brussels we're usually around 200, 250. And for React Africa last year we were around 100 people attending the conference. Usually for the online audience, because our conferences are hybrid, so we have people in the venue, but we also have people watching online. We usually, for the online people, we usually have between 100 and 200 people attending. What other numbers do you wanna know?
Maybe number of speakers, I think.
Number of speakers. I think across all of our conferences, we probably surpassed the 150, maybe 200 speakers. For the attendees, I think we're probably around 3,000 attendees across our all of our events that we did. What else? 2 continents. 3 countries. So we're for this year, for example, we're still studying the possibility of organizing React Africa, not in Morocco this time, somewhere else, but we're still discussing it. It's not yet confirmed. We're also discussing the possibility of organizing a conference, can't really say, but in another continent, not Europe, not Africa. There is still a lot to work on and a lot to plan, but hopefully little by little we hope to be able to organize conferences everywhere. Not everywhere, meaning but I mean, because like the idea behind the conferences that we organize is that little by little we want these conferences to be accessible to everyone, and for people like me in Tunisia be able to experience this kind of atmosphere and these kind of conferences and start liking conferences.
Makes sense. Yeah, got the point. And you mentioned that currently you are thinking about expanding to other countries. What is like the metrics that you take in consideration, if you mind sharing, to be able to pick another country?
Yeah. So to be honest, for React Paris, it was the proximity with Brussels, and also the ecosystem of Paris is amazing, and like it's a very huge city. There was a React conference there, maybe before COVID, but then there was a scandal with that conference, and they stopped doing it. And so for Paris, it was like just the proximity and the fact that we know there is a community there, a React community there. But usually what we do is that before we decide to go to a country or a city, we check the community there, the ecosystem there. So a simple thing that I usually do is I just go on LinkedIn and I just search for React developers in Casablanca, for example. And then you have kind of a rough idea how many devs you can have in that area. And then if we see that there is actually a lot of devs in a certain area but no conference, then we start looking little by little into the possibility of organizing a conference there. Because there is also a lot of administration and other stuff related to that makes it way more difficult and so on. So you need to look into that and the legal part as well. And is it easy for people to travel from abroad? I don't know. Do they need a visa? Is it expensive? So a lot of questions, but mainly our main concern usually is like, is there enough people there for us to organize a conference?
Makes sense. Yeah, got the point, because it does make sense, because you need to cover the expenses of doing the conference, because it's a lot of work, a lot of money on the table. So you need to at least have people that will go there, especially because you are sibling the local and also the global one, but you are betting a lot on the local one because it will be easy for them to go to the conference in the country instead of someone flying out from other country to go to the conference. So we are betting on the local markets first to be able to go to the conference, which makes sense because you need to cover the expenses of running the startup, which take a lot of money and the resources to be able to do that. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think the last question of the episode will be about the lesson that you learned building and running the tech startup. Not the tech startup, but the tech conference, like the React Africa, React Paris, and React Brussels.
Oh yeah, lessons learned. I learned a lot, but the main thing that I learned is that cultures are different, and that's very important. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to run a conference or a community or a business the same way you do it in Tunisia or Morocco as you do it in Belgium or France, and even even inside of Europe with the European Union and so on, there are a lot of differences between cultures as well. Like you cannot compare the culture in Belgium with the culture in France. It's a very easy example that I can give you is that when doing marketing, you have to choose different channels and different social networks where you're going to promote your conference. For example, in Belgium, most of the developers don't have social networks. They are not on Twitter, they are not on Facebook, they are not on Instagram. I mean, yeah, maybe they use Instagram, but not for tech stuff. They use it for cooking and traveling and so on.
Yeah.
And so it's way more difficult to market to Belgian developers than to market to French developers that are mostly on LinkedIn. But if you go to the US, for example, then it changes, and most developers don't even have a LinkedIn because they are on Twitter.
Yes.
And so all of these differences, like you need to study and you need to try to understand, and you need to have a lot of different, not tracking, but like to, you need to analyze all of what you're doing to know how is it working for each of the different countries and cities where you're doing business. And that's like, as I said, a very difficult thing to do if you have businesses in different countries and different continents, because you need to adapt to each culture, to each administration, and to each systems and so on. So yeah, that's the main thing that I can say. But in terms of learnings, like the journey to organize these conferences has been amazing in terms of learning. Like it can be daunting and very difficult, and you cry more than you laugh, let's say, but it's totally worth it in terms of learnings, because you learn so much, and you get to experience adventures and journeys that are priceless.
Yeah, that's great. Makes sense. I think that's really good to share with the audience. And what I noticed from the story of and the backstory of running a tech conference, it's similar to running a tech startup. There is like a lot of thing that is similar to not only tech startup but entrepreneurship in general. There is a lot of things that is hard about this stuff, and a lot of people doesn't know behind the scene of this thing. It's a lot of things that happen behind the scene to people to make it what people are expecting to see. And also, talking about all of the things that you mentioned, I would love for you to pick 3 milestones that you think was pretty impactful for you running the BeJS and the React conference that we mentioned. Maybe you have someone this is special for you as a speaker. There is some numbers, some people that I think you met during the conference. Anything that you would love to share as milestone, or something that was impactful during that time running the tech startup, the tech conference.
Yeah, I have a few ones, but for me, the first conference that we organized, the online one, the first one that we did, that was a huge milestone for me, because at first when I started BeJS, it was like, yeah, I mean, I was talking to the person who gave us the venue for the meetups at the time, and I was telling them hey, at first we'll be just 4 or 5 people, and we'll be coding, so we don't need much. And then not even a year later, organizing a conference where we had more than 200 people attending online. For me, that was a huge milestone, which basically motivated me to continue and to organize in-person events. Second milestone, I would say, is organizing a conference in Morocco, in Africa. So that was also huge for us, because it's a different continent, it's a different culture. Organizing a conference, almost everything done remotely, because you can't just go there. I mean, because Paris is just an hour and a half with the train, so if I need to do something, I'll just go. But here we're talking about flights and so on, and so everything had to be organized remotely. So that was huge as well. And then the thing that always motivates me is the fact that there isn't a week or two that passes without me receiving a message from someone telling me, "Hey, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for this because I met that person at your conference, and now it can, I don't know, like it can be they become friends, or they started going out together, or they started a business together, or they got their first job in tech because they came to our conference." And these are like just they make your life amazing to just receive a message like that out of nowhere. And that's like super rewarding.
Yeah, that's true. It's like you are becoming a hero in someone else's story.
Yeah.
That's really great. And the last question will be if you mind sharing some tips and resources that you would love to share with the other people, especially in dev slash entrepreneurship profile. So someone who would like to go maybe do like a conference, go to build their own business, something in this in between this, if you would like to share some tips and resources for that.
Yeah, so there is a book that I recommend, which is called Personality Isn't Permanent. And that book is basically trying to explain that if you are categorized as someone, example, as someone who is lazy, you can change that. It doesn't mean that you have to stay lazy your entire life. And that for me like is very important, because I see a lot of people that tell me, or when you ask them, "Hey, why aren't you doing this?" or they just tell you, "Yeah, I'm just like that," or "That's just who I am." And I think it's okay to be who you are, but you can change if you want to change. Of course, you can change who you are. Which is great. For me, for example, this is really important because I always struggle with weight for a long time. Like I gain weight, I lose weight, and so on. And so for a few years, I was like just saying, "Yeah, it's in my genes. I just have to be big." And so, but like it kind of convinces you that you can change that, and you can change your habits, and you can change who you are in that sense. So that's a book that is very important in my opinion. And then in terms of entrepreneurship, I think the best, at least for me, the best way to learn is to just try things. Don't put your life on the line, of course. Like, don't just go throw all of your career in the bin and start a business. But like, you can start, especially in our era, like you can start a business just during your free time online and try things. Probably 99% of the things you try won't work, but at some point something will work, and then you keep doing that, and you learn other stuff, and you try other things, and they don't work, and then another thing works, and that's how I learn. Like I'm not the kind of person that goes and does research for 5 years before doing something. I just do something, then I see how it goes, and if something happens, I'll adapt to it, change my trajectory or wherever, and continue. I think that's very important. Trial and error, basically.
That's great. I think the first book that you mentioned is really great one, because I never like read this before, but just like the idea that you mentioned about, because sometimes you are feeling, maybe you are like a shy person, let's say, and you are just thinking, this is like I'm a personality, I am a shy person, I cannot talk to someone. But it's not like you can change it if you want, but when you will change and become like someone who is not shy, you will see what you missed, because you will see a lot of things that was blocked because of the personality that you have. So a lot of things will unlock because of that. So sometimes just think about it twice, and it might be the problem or the blocker for the goal that you would like to achieve. Because, for example, if you would like to maybe to like achieve something, and that's something that you would like to achieve. With your personality, it will be very hard or impossible to do. So maybe change the personality, like the something in personality to be able to make it like achievable. So I think this is like a great thing to mention. And the other thing that you mentioned about like going and try it yourself, because as much as you learn over the book, but into your the theory is good, but in practice it will be like a different. You will see a lot of challenges, a lot of things, a lot of rejection at first, a lot of no's, a lot of things that will be challenged at first. But this is like how you will be learning this stuff. So you will be learning the hard way, but I think when you learn it, you will like never do the same mistake. So it's like the best way to learn. But as you mentioned, don't like go with it full time unless you like already secure some good deal and stuff, because it's not like it's not a short term solution, it's a long term. So it's not like a sprint, it's a marathon. So just like go step by step and build something on your free time. And it's like a doing good, and you can go in with it full time. You can do so and let the other one go.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I think we are on the finish of the podcast. So thank you so much, Ayman, for taking the time to be able to share your story running the tech conference and everything that you mentioned over the podcast. And this is like your final word.
Yeah, thank you everyone who is listening, or thank you, Elias, for the invitation. It was an honor to be here, and I hope to see you in one of our next events, or maybe speak at one of our next events, maybe at some point.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.